Yo, what's up? Yep, I'm here. Got some sunglasses on. Today's YouTube video is going to be about Anthony Davis. As you do know, there are a lot of YouTubers who have quote unquote said that Anthony Davis will soon become a free agent like never before, and he will make his way to the Los Angeles Lakers. And I thought I would just make my basketball video on where Anthony Davis will end up at. But I want to give you a nice little some history of the basketball team that he played for, the New Orleans Pelicans, and talk about the possibilities that it may or it may not happen. Because a lot of you Laker fans, a lot of you basketball fans are so ecstatic. You're just so excited for this that you seem to forget a very important detail. This actually happened 8 years ago from today. Remember Chris Paul? Remember the basketball team that never was? Chris Paul, Kobe Bryant. Just imagine what could have possibly happened if it was Chris Paul and Kobe Bryant on the same basketball court, on the same team, at the same time with the Lakers. Just imagine how many championships Kobe Bryant could have had. And you see, New Orleans is this basketball team that never was good to begin with. They would win basketball games. They would lose basketball games. They would struggle to make the playoffs. 1 minute they make the playoffs. Next minute they get eliminated from playoff contention. And this is a history of this team doing this for the past 15, 16 years. They've been doing this. Now, this basketball team was kind of like, you know, they had their little formation in the late 1970s, early 1980s. Then they moved, they relocated, and in the late 80s, early 90s, they were in Charlotte, North Carolina. But then the problem was, you know, the city didn't want to build a stadium, so the basketball team moved from Charlotte, and then they just became the New Orleans Hornets. And ever since you had basketball players, you know, pop up and play on that team, like Orlando, they always had all these draft picks, and for whatever reason we can never explain, this team seemed to always have this up and down problem. You know, they would get all these draft picks, and they just could never seem to ever get themselves going to the big dance. Now, you know, they've had Chris Paul on that team. They've had J.R. Smith on that team. A lot of great players on that team during that 2000 period. And then, you know, we get Anthony Davis, and he's on that team. And Anthony Davis is having the same problem as Chris Paul. He's the best basketball player right now in the NBA. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster. You know, he's like between 6 feet to 6'6", maybe 6'7", 240 pounds. He has a long reach. He's deadly and vertical. And the guy can play offense. He can play defense. And Anthony Davis is he's like a cross between Tim Duncan because of his rebound production and a Shaquille O'Neal in his prime. You don't want to be under the basket trying to guard Anthony Davis. I mean, I say 6 feet to 6'7", but he might be taller than that. He might clock in at 7 feet tall. So, you know, I'll double check that. But any way the case go, he's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster. And he's been playing on this basketball team for the last 4.5 to 5 years. And he's tried to do what has never been done before with this team. He's tried to take them to the promised land. I remember back in the 2016 NBA season, he tried to take this team to the playoffs, where they had a nice record of 40 wins, 29 losses or something like that. And they managed to make it to the playoffs. I think they were either number 7 or number 8 at that time. And he took them to the playoffs. And they managed to win a first round series. And then I don't know what happened in the second round. I guess maybe I remember he got hurt, or his minutes got cut, or the team they were playing against was too competitive, and they just got beat bad. And then you look at what happened in the 2017-2018 NBA season, and they faced the Golden State Warriors. And even though he could match up very well with a Klay Thompson and a Draymond Green, it just wasn't enough to knock off the Golden State Warriors. And he can score 20 points, 30, 40 points on any given night. He can get you 15 to 20 rebounds. And on his best night, he can give you 25 rebounds. So he can get you some blocks, some rebounds. He can make his free throws. He can slam dunk the hell out of a basketball. He can block shots. I mean, the guy can score at will. Problem is, he doesn't have no help. Even with the point guards and the shooting guards that they have on the Pelicans, it's not enough. And he doesn't want to be on a basketball team where he has to do all the work and he has no help. And even when they give him some help, it's very limited. And you see, one of my concerns about him trying to leave this team and come to the Lakers is that Chris Paul had this problem. If you just go into a time machine and you go back 8 years from today, he had the same problem. The owner would whine and complain about Chris Paul trying to go to the Lakers because that's what Chris Paul wanted to do. He wanted to play for the Los Angeles Lakers. He didn't want to play for the Los Angeles Clippers. He only went to that team because he had no other option and no other choice. And he had to go to the Clippers because the owner made some type of clause or stipulation that he can go to any team in the NBA, in the West, and the East, except for the Lakers. And Chris Paul was furious when he was told that. So he had to go to the Clippers. He played on the Clipper team for about 5 or 6, 7 NBA seasons, right? And then the last 2 seasons, he's been with the Houston Rockets. And you could tell that even though he was with the Houston Rockets, you can just tell that Chris Paul to this day, he sometimes scratches his head and say, what could have actually been? And the owner's the reason why Chris Paul has never gotten close to a championship ring. You know, the owner might say, well, I'm just doing what an owner does, you know, because they claim LA wins too many championships. I mean, the Boston Celtics win too many championships too, and nobody stopped none of the players from going to Boston. So I would probably tell that owner hypocritical. Stop being a hypocrite. So like I was saying, now, if Anthony Davis is going to come to the Los Angeles Lakers, then I got to break it down to the 5 teams that he could play for, not just LA. So at number 5 on my list is the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, this basketball team has started all over again, and they're in rebuilding phase. And given with the track history of Jerry West, he likes young basketball players. And Anthony Davis needs to be in a system where he can play on both sides of the basketball. He'll win basketball games. He'll win games in the season. The offense and the defense will run through him. And he'll be the star of the team. And he'll take the team to the playoffs on a year regular basis. They'll win the first round. They'll win the second round. And they'll possibly contend in the third round for the Western Conference if he decides to go and sign with the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, that's like a 30% chance, so don't get all offended and go, dude, he's not going to the Clippers. It's a video on what 5 teams he may go to. So don't take it literally and don't take it personal. It's just the 5 teams that I think he might go to. Number 4, San Antonio. This is another team that has started all over again. And they need a big man. And I seriously, they really do need a big man. I mean, if they get a big man, then yeah, this team can breathe some new life in the Spurs team. You know, you get you a shooting guard, a point guard, you know, and then you do a sign and trade and you bring Anthony Davis to San Antonio, they'll be back in the West and a team to contend with. So that's number 4. Coming in at number 3 is OKC. They don't have no intimidating presence on that team. If you look at Russell Westbrook and Paul George, they're the only 2 players on that team, but their center, he's a good center, but he don't have no intimidating presence. And you can still beat up OKC. Like, you could actually beat them in the second round. So if you bring him to OKC, he'll be playing alongside two of the best players, and he could be the missing piece to help OKC compete against LA and you know, the Golden State Warriors. So number 5 is the Clippers. Number 4 is the Spurs. Number 3 is OKC. Coming in at number 2 is Portland. Damian Lillard does need some help in Portland. And I do imagine that if he got signed to Portland, it would make perfect sense. You know, you get the center, you get the guard, you know, you bring in another player. Who gonna stop Portland? Now, coming in at number 1, the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, I could see Anthony Davis sign with the Los Angeles Lakers, but the problem with this is, how much room are you going to have on the roster? Because you'll have LeBron James, you'll have Rondo, you'll have Tyson Chandler, you'll have Ingram, what's that other guy's name? LeBall. You'll have all these personalities on one team, right? And if you're to make room for Anthony Davis, what will happen is you got to trade at least 3 to 4 basketball players. You got to trade at least 3 to 4 players to other teams. So you would have to get on the phone and call the Denver Nuggets. You would have to get on the phone and call the Clippers. And then I don't know who the third team is, but you would have to do what they call a 3-team trade, where you got to get rid of 4 basketball players on 3 teams just to make space for Anthony Davis, so it doesn't mess up your salary cap. Now, if you get Anthony Davis, then the roster should look like this: LeBron James, Rondo, LeVar, and Ingram. And then I don't know what you do with Tyson Chandler. You might end up trading him or putting him on the bench. And you might end up having to use Tyson Chandler, because Tyson Chandler's been in this situation 3 times in his NBA career where they had a draft pick and he had to get traded to make room for the draft pick. Now, I don't know if you trade Tyson Chandler away and bring him back later, but by the All-Star break or sometime after the NBA season, yeah, I could see LeBron James come into a private meeting with Magic Johnson and sit down and talk numbers with Anthony Davis. You bring Anthony Davis to the Los Angeles Lakers, they will destroy every basketball team in the West. Woo! If you smell what the Rock is cooking, they will bitch slap Oklahoma City Thunder. They will destroy the Portland Trail Blazers. They will kill the Houston Rockets, the Dallas Mavericks, San Antonio Spurs. They will knock out the Denver Nuggets. They will kill every team in the West, and only one team in the West will be able to contend with them, and that is the defending NBA World Champion Golden State Warriors. Now, we all saw the game 24 hours ago, Christmas Day, and we saw the Lakers blow them out in 27 points. But that's one basketball game. And I said in my last video that they got to face each other 3 more times. And the second time they face Golden State, it'll be in Los Angeles, and they should be able to win that game. And then the third game will be back in Golden State, and I'm pretty sure Golden State's going to want their revenge. So everyone is, looking at it like, okay, they beat Golden State. Now they have a shot at winning the third round of the Western Conference semifinals and advancing to the NBA Finals. And I will make a future video. Do the Lakers and the Celtics, are they going to clash in the NBA Finals, or we're going to see something new in the NBA Finals? I will make a video just for that. But this video is, do Anthony Davis come to the Los Angeles Lakers? Now, I would say there is an 85 to 90% chance, yes, he does come to the Los Angeles Lakers. Only problem and only major concern is, what does the owner and the general manager do? Now, they're trying to offer him max money for a max contract. He's refusing to take it. And if we go into a time machine from 8 years ago, Chris Paul did the same thing. Chris Paul was offered max money for a max contract, and Chris Paul didn't take it. And Chris Paul wanted to come to the Lakers. And the owner the owner and the general manager, they don't really like the Los Angeles Lakers. And this goes back to when Kobe Bryant was supposed to play on that basketball team. A lot of you guys don't remember the 1996 NBA draft when Kobe was actually traded from the Charlotte Hornets to the Los Angeles Lakers, and Lottie Divac was on the Lakers roster, and Lottie Divac and 3 other players got traded to that team for Kobe Bryant at the NBA draft. He was traded to the Lakers, and ever since Kobe ended up going from the Charlotte Hornets, which they changed the name to the New Orleans Hornets, and then they changed the name again to the New Orleans Pelicans, Kobe ended up to the Lakers in the 1996 NBA draft. And from that point on, they did not like the idea that because Kobe ended up becoming what he is, and Lottie Divac on that team and all the other players on that team were just average. And here comes Chris Paul. Chris Paul plays 10 or 11 seasons with that team, and Chris Paul wants out of that team, and they won't let him come to LA. They made him go to the Clippers. And I don't have to tell you what the hell happened to Chris Paul when he was with the Clippers. You know it for yourself. And Anthony Davis has the same problem as Chris Paul. If Anthony Davis does come to Los Angeles, you got to get rid of 3 to 4 basketball players, 2 to 3 future draft picks in the NBA draft in the future, with the guarantee that if you get Anthony Davis, you got to give up at least some players. And I can't imagine the owner and the general manager of the New Orleans Pelicans giving Anthony Davis away to the Los Angeles Lakers. I see that they might do the same thing they did with Chris Paul. Oh, you can go to any other basketball team in the West or in the East except for the Lakers. That's why I have Portland Trail Blazers at number 2. That's why I have OKC at number 3. That's why we have San Antonio Spurs at number 4. That's why we have the Clippers at number 5, and I put the Los Angeles Lakers at number 1. So it's the 5 basketball teams that I could picture and see Anthony Davis play on. And I'm just saying that I could see 85 to 90%. Yes, Anthony Davis can play for the Los Angeles Lakers. But don't be surprised or shocked that we get to the NBA All-Star break in February, and you find out that the owner and the general manager of the New Orleans Pelicans are refusing to let him go elsewhere because they're trying to offer him max money on a max contract, and he don't want to take it. And he knows if he signed for another 5-year contract or another 2 to 3 year extension, he knows he's never going to be able to play alongside LeBron James. Because what I just said, if you go back to 1996 NBA draft, Kobe Bryant was going to play for that Charlotte team and was traded in the draft to the Lakers. Because Kobe said he didn't want to play for that team. And the owner and the general manager had like a 10 to 11 or 12 year grudge with the Los Angeles Lakers. They got Chris Paul. Who does Chris Paul want to play alongside? Kobe Bryant. And what does the owner and the general manager of that team do? Stop Chris Paul from going to the Lakers. Now, here we are having the same problem once again. Anthony Davis wants to leave his team and go straight to the Lakers. And again, you gotta look at the pattern. Every time these players come on the New Orleans Pelicans, they play very good for about 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Then they want to go to the Lakers. You got to look at the pattern. You got to look at what is going on here as far as behind the scenes, backstage politics. And I'm pretty sure Magic and LeBron James know that if Anthony Davis comes to the Lakers, that's not 1 championship. That's not 2 championships. That's at least 3 to 4 championships before LeBron retires and walk off into the sunset. And the general manager and the owner of the New Orleans Pelicans do not want that to happen, because it was going to happen if Chris Paul played alongside Kobe Bryant. That was going to actually happen, and they stopped it. And it's about to happen again, and guess what they're about to do? They're about to stop it. You see how Kawhi Leonard could have came to the Lakers, and Greg Popovich of the Spurs and the general manager got together and sat down and said, no, Kawhi Leonard can play anywhere in the NBA, in the West and the East, but he's not coming to LA. Don't be surprised if that happens. Until then, peace.